We're installing metal roof with the pros. I'll give you all the tips and tricks. And it's all next on HomePro Hero. Hey, welcome back to the build. Big day. We're adding the roof to the pole barn I've been building on my property, DIY for the most part. I called in the pros. You remember Daryl and the boys from the first video in the series? They were phenomenal on the pole installation. Now I called them back to put the metal in the barn. 3 good reasons why: safety, value, and speed. So when it comes to safety, I'm too old to be climbing on a roof with metal panels by myself. Speed, these guys will knock it out in a day. It'd take me a week to knock this out, if not longer. Most importantly, value. The metal roof is thicker and better than your big box stores like Menards and Home Depot, Lowe's. So there's minimum amount of work they have to do because everything's prepped and ready for metal. Very familiar with the process. I put a metal roof on my pavilion, lot smaller scale. We're trying to squeeze this in today before more rain comes later in the week. Although they're doing most of the installing, I'm gonna be right with them. And at the end, I'll tell you how much it cost and how long it took. With all that said, let's get them and me to work. So my builder came out and measured what I needed for all sides of the roof, including all the metal trim and stuff. They delivered it all yesterday. The quality of the product that he's using, it's a thicker gauge, made with better material, I guess. Long story short, he said it's the best in the industry for the most part. You can also see there's some additional trim pieces we'll go over as they install. First thing up is this roof edge they tacked on with some nails. They did it across that edge and across that edge. I think it helps keep the water off the tail end. They've got panels staged ready to rock. Okay, we're starting with the small side, or I guess the short side. It's a 412 pitch. The upper one is a 512 pitch. Pretty sure they're tacking, then they're gonna come back and screw it down real good at the end. Let me get up there and show you what we're talking about. And now they're getting ready to use these screws, I think called pan style screws or something. They have a little bushing. It says you don't want to oversink those screws. They'll break the seal and then you'll have leaks in your roof. I think Daryl told me they're gonna overhang the roof 2 inches all the way around. So gives you a good drip edge. It's just gonna naturally drip off. I'll probably have mulch down below or stone or some sort thing. I'm not putting gutters in the building. There's not a whole lot of cuts, I don't think, on this metal roof, so it makes it a lot easier. Kind of like my pavilion roof when I did that one. It was just basically putting panels up, and at the end I had to cut it. A couple things, they are eyeballing the screw placement, but what they're doing is every time they put a panel down, they kind of mark where the 2x4 is, and then they know where the other 2x4, 3 foot on the other side of the panel is, and they just kind of connect the dots. They do this enough to know what a straight line looks like. Someone like you or I, we'd probably have to mark it with some type of line or something to make sure we kind of keep a straight edge. But honestly, you're never gonna see these screw heads at this pitch anyways, so it's not that important. The most important part is to make sure the roof doesn't lift, not necessarily the screw placement. I think it took them about 30 minutes to do all this so far. Of course, there's a lot more work, trim work and all that good stuff. The money shot is at the end of the roof, right? Down here where it's not done yet. I'm off 1/8 of an inch from the top to the bottom. That's pretty solid for a rookie. Seems like the best way to cut panels, right? Using a DeWalt tool. I've seen this before. I think it's kind of salty. I'll put a link in the description. Makes easy work of it. Now they'll hide that cut edge with trim. Pretty simple. Look at this. And we have one side done. It's an easy job for them. They do a lot bigger buildings than this. Yeah, kind of screwed up. I knew I was gonna have to do this, and I actually bought the material and I was gonna do it before the roofers got here, but the back side of those bottom of the windows needed some framing so they could put their flashing on. Unfortunately, I didn't get to it, so they had to do it for me. It's not a big deal. I had the material, they had to cut it and screw it all in, but it slowed us down a little bit. Now they're working on the flashing from the upstairs area to the down lower roof. Michael, what is that crap?
I've always called it snow block, but I don't know. Pitch spray, baby, pitch spray. Bird stop.
Bird stop? Yeah. Keeps the birds out?
Yeah. Vintage filler strip.
That makes it look better, that's for sure. Hey, they're also tacking on, I think they're 1 foot pieces, maybe 2 foot. I can't remember what they are. I know Menards, you couldn't get them that small. You could only get 24 as a minimum. So that would have been a problem if I would have bought my stuff through Menards. They were able to get it custom made at the metal supply store. So that's not an issue with them. But they're moving right along on that. It's pretty simple. What's that underneath stuff called again? Drip?
Drip stop.
Drip stop. And he's burning it so
doesn't
wicker water doesn't wicker off the edge up on underneath. That's a good idea. How big were those little small panels up top there? Were they about a foot and a half? Another nice thing is the lift here. Saves your legs, arms, everything. Daryl said it's like one of his favorite tools, one of his best investments too. We got the roof edge on, nailed down just like the other side. How far you overlap that? Out of curiosity, what, a couple inches? Now they're putting I think these are like 18-foot panels, all one piece. Got the drip stuff on the bottom. These are the screws they're using I was talking about earlier. Black painted, you get them different colors, but they're 2-inch, got a little head on there, and they got that little gasket right there, see it? That's really important not to smush that too much. You see what Daryl's doing there, he's putting 2 inches overhang, and then on the far end, on the edge along the outside rafter, that's actually flush. They'll put a piece of trim on that, I believe. First sheet's probably the most important sheet for obvious reasons. If that one's not set right, none of the others will look good. Be interested to see how true I am down at that end. Okay, next panel coming up now. So Daryl, what's the most important part about that seam right there?
It's kind of a mistake everybody makes. This is the leg, it's called the leg of the metal, and this laps over. A lot of people try to lap it opposite of that, and this is the proper way to do that.
Easy enough. Seems like it'd be a simple thing to do, but it's probably what the most common thing people mess up. If you don't, then that thing won't fit nice and flat like that.
Yeah, and water can get up.
Oh, yeah. Me doing this by myself, this is probably a 2-week project if I don't kill myself in the process. You gotta think that undercoating too helps with scratching and stuff too, don't you think?
Yeah.
Kind of gives a little bit of a cushion. How long has that stuff been around? How long has this drip edge stuff been around, this drip stuff?
Not long. We've been using it for about 2 or 3 years now.
What'd you used to put underneath there? Some type of wrap or something, right?
Yeah, we used to, not this, but it was a 1/4 inch thick bubble foil.
You had to put that down then the roof, right?
Yeah,
Now it's all one piece. It helps when you weigh nothing too. That's why these guys are up top. They're the smallest of the crew. A guy like me, you don't see on roofs like this very often. So Daryl, why are you screwing here? I've seen on YouTube before that they screw on top of the ridge. What's your thoughts on that?
This is the way the manufacturer advises us to do it. We used to screw through the rib. That's how they used to recommend it. Lay this down.
Easy enough. Got to follow the rules. And I'm kind of happy with the color because it's the same color as my gutters on my house.
Yeah.
Because it's not true black. Everything should tie in with the house, with the barn, with the pavilion. Makes your house look good because it looks like you care when you're trying to match everything up. There's nothing worse than having one building one color and another building another color, or metals not matching colors. So it's important for me, it's the OCD in me. So you see where the roof and the edge of the building is? That's what you kind of want pretty straight. It's a little wavy, I can see at the top, not quite sure why, it might be the wood, but long story short, it looks pretty good, just eyeballing it. It's not bad, I mean, you could probably be off a good 1/2 inch, maybe even a whole inch, and no one really noticed the edge of that.
Off 1/4 inch.
I'm off a 1/4 inch. Is that bad or good? All right, so it makes me feel good. I'm off more on this side than I was on that side, but there's a lot longer span, so it must have been the lumber. So the guys just got back from lunch. They're gonna knock out the trim this afternoon. They had 2 hours in, the panels on this side, the panels on the far side, the upper panels, and then the flashing. We got a few things going on. They're putting the foam that goes underneath the ridge cap. I imagine they'll probably do that on both sides to keep birds out, snow, and all that good stuff. That's right. Are you going down through the rib on that screw?
I am.
Yep. Keeps it nice and tight. So he is doing the straddle method like I did. It just looks different because he's a much more skinnier. They make it look easy walking on top like that. This is why I really like the detail I did here. You see how the porch roof's all exposed too? I'll paint all that white, including the rafters, the 2x4s. It'll look real clean and real craftsman-like, farmhouse style. And then the guys in the front here, they're actually getting ready to put the trim on the front leading edge of the side. It's gonna cover that fascia board, keep it protected from weather, especially coming from the west. See how that fits? Look at that. I'm so glad we're getting this squeezed in before the next rainstorm. I like to protect the barn as much as possible. Not proud of that angle, but I'm kind of glad because they're gonna cover the angle up so you'll never know how crappy my work was. where the two pieces tie in. They're actually using silicone to kind of join them off. Guys do this for a living, so their balance is probably phenomenal. Plus he weighs nothing, so it's easy for him. Just like that, they knocked it out. 4 hours is all it took. Daryl and the boys did a phenomenal job like I expected. It was safe, no one got hurt, it was super fast, and the value was incredible. Speaking of value, how much did it cost? The metal, trim, whatnot, $3,100. The labor for 5 guys, 1 day, 4 hours, $1,800. That includes a generous tip. I'm all in for $4,900. The good news is we're moving on. Still got concrete, siding, windows, and doors. Hope you liked the video. If you did, give me a like. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next one. I'll see you next time. Take care.